shoot, hang on. Can you hit accept for me over there? I'm sorry.
We didn't go live to Facebook yet. But
Do I need to,
Oh, wait, hold on. Oh, it's set up. It's good. Thank you. I freaked because it went off.
You're great.
all right, we're going live to Facebook.
Okay.
We're doing pre-show?
No. It's after 3.
Activate your voice!
Activated now.
Voice activation.
Live from Maryland, this is Activate Live!
Welcome to Activate Live, the Machinists Union's weekly show about workers' rights, union membership, and labor history. Speaking of history, this is Black History Month, and we'll take a look back at some inspirational figures and current work going on to empower Black union members and workers. We'll also learn about a recent win in the Eastern Territory, and we'll hear from the National Federation of Federal Employees about the effects of government shutdowns. But first, Communications Representative Delane Adams joins us with the latest IAM news. Thanks for being here, Delane.
Hi, Tanya, how are you?
Good, doing well. How are you?
Good. I think we want to start off with that big win in the Eastern Territory. Definitely a big win for Local 264, workers and mechanics over at MBTA. After a long 2-year battle, they have fought back a lot, and they've been fighting machinists, and I'm glad they're on the show today.
They are, so stay tuned.
And in other news, as always, you know, we deal with ups and downs. I mean, MBTA was a good fight, and now we're dealing with Electrolux. They recently announced that they are closing their freezer and refrigerator plant in St. Cloud, Minnesota. So our legislative department, along with everyone here in Midwest Territory headquarters, is working very hard to make sure that we can get them to reverse that decision. Right now, they made the decision to close it by 2019. And
we always hate to see that happen because we
Yes.
have so many workers that are affected. This is families' lives affected.
Yes, and President Martinez has he's been involved, and he recently sent a letter to the CEO of Electrolux, and he believes that the plant and its workers, you know, are loyal, hardworking individuals, and families deserve the dignity and respect, like their company policy says. So stay tuned for that, and we really want to thank the Minnesota congressional delegation for weighing in on this fight. And we'll make sure, stay tuned to our Facebook page. We'll share whatever's coming out from St. Cloud in Minnesota.
Yes.
So, and thank you for Latoya. Latoya, who's the Midwest Communications Territory rep. She's really been on top of this and really lending the type of support that's needed for our members.
And that's what we need. We need them to know that we're fighting for their jobs.
Yeah, definitely. John Harity, want to give a shout out to John Harity, a longtime IAM member and activist. He recently attended the State of the Union address. He was a guest of Congresswoman Esty, Elizabeth Esty. You see the picture there, and as people know, if you've been around, John Harity, he's 32 years as a member of Local 1746. He's been president of the Connecticut State Council of Machinists since 2012.
And he just retired.
Just retired, and as people know, John at legislative conferences, he's able to make some things happen. So shout out to John for that, for attending that State of the Union.
Everybody knows who John Harity is, especially all of the reps from Connecticut when you mention his name.
Yeah, and he's like I said, he's a vital part, and he will continue to be, you know. So that's good. More sad news. Harley Davidson management announced last week that it's going to close the facility in Kansas City. So that affects around 572 of our members. Again, President Martinez weighed in, and we're not very happy, but hundreds of working families are now wondering what their future holds. He's sick of seeing jobs disappear and turn into part-time work, and we're committed to employing every resource necessary to assist Kansas City. So for our members in Kansas City, just know that we have your back, and we'll be fighting very hard for you. So.
Do we have any good news, like?
Yeah, we do.
Any lighthearted news for us to kind of end on a positive note? On
a positive note, from Philadelphia, Lobster 207 made a bet out of Maine. They made a bet with Pat's King Steaks out of Philadelphia, Super Bowl wager. 20 pounds of live lobsters versus 20 cheesesteaks.
Wow, there's Dave Sullivan. Is that Joel Pitcher on the left
yes.
there? They don't look very happy, do they?
So as we all know, the Eagles, they were the winners in that game. So unfortunately for Dave and Joel and everybody else at 207, they had to deliver, and they delivered in a big way. You see Dave right there and Joel, they're delivering the lobsters. And this was featured on Fox News Philadelphia, and I think right now they're over at, they're probably over about 70,000 views for that video. So, so congratulations for lobster207.com for stepping up. Again, Lobstermen from Maine, IAM local, stepping up big, and they're showing it. So,
We're glad to see the Union Lobster all the way,
yes,
from sea to table.
from sea to table. So, and I think we have video. I think of Frank from Pat's Kings even saying that. So,
And we'd also like to give a shout out to District 54 in Ohio, because
Oh.
this shirt that Delane is wearing
Yes.
just arrived today from Dean Wright.
Yes.
So we'd like to say thank you to Dean Wright and District 54 for sending us the shirt. So I'll wear mine next week, I promise.
yeah, good shout out to Ohio, West Virginia, and Northeast Indiana.
That's
so
right.
I got a little place for my reading glasses, just what an old man needs. I appreciate that.
Well, thanks so much, Delane. Even Dave Lehive said in the comments here, thank you so much for the update on what's going on.
Okay. Yeah.
So
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Have a great show.
Well, the New Mexico State Council of Machinists meeting is this week in Santa Fe, so a shout out to New Mexico and good luck with your meeting there. And if you are just joining us, we have great news. As you just heard, the Eastern Territory this week, as IAM Local 264 overwhelmingly ratified a new agreement with the Massachusetts Bay Transportation Authority in Boston. Now, the local have been fighting a privatization effort aimed at our bus mechanics. District 15 Assistant Directing Business Representative Mike Bardabedian joins us with the details. Mike, congratulations to you and all of our members in the Boston area.
It was Sunday we ratified this contract, and obviously it was a big win for Boston, considering that we lost the Super Bowl earlier, later in the day. So at least we had one big win that day. So it's been literally like a 2-year struggle, but the last year really heated up. 2 years ago, we had a new governor come in. He's a Republican governor. He, quite frankly, this is our second fight about privatization. He was on an administration earlier, the Weld administration, that tried to privatize the MBTA almost 25, 26 years ago. And when that happened, a law was put in effect called the Taxpayer Protection Act, and that made them prove that if they were going to privatize, that they would actually save any money, and that they would also not affect the quality of work. When this governor got in, the first thing he did, he used the terrible snowstorms in 2015. He used them as a platform to say that we needed some reform at the transit authority because the trains had shut down for 3 days, not the buses, the trains. He said he needed some reform, so one of the things that he needed was a exemption from the Taxpayer Protection Act, the same act that was put in to block him and the former governor 26 years ago from privatizing the T. He said he needed an exemption for the extreme backlog of work that he had. And he promised he wasn't going to privatize the T. He promised he wasn't going to lay off hundreds of workers. So the legislators, Democratic legislators, they believed him, and they gave him a 3-year exemption. And as soon as they did, he started going after the workers, as we could all predict. And he first went after the ATU. The ATU did a deal with him to protect jobs, but they allowed some privatization, some of the parts room, some of the money room, and some other jobs. They allowed some privatization, but protected their bulk of their work, which is actually driving the buses. And then once he was done with that, he came after us, and he wanted to privatize bus maintenance. They were trying to claim that it was the most expensive in the country, which there was a manipulation of numbers to try to prove their point. But anyways, we fought it. We as a team effort. It was the local, the district, the international. Oh, we kept Dominic Tahibi, the directing business rep, and the whole team here in Boston. Myself, Jim Foley, Mike DeCoco, Craig Hughes, then the president of the local, Jim Massandrea, and all the members. Everybody showed solidarity. They fought this thing for 2 years. We lobbied. We had commercials. We had billboards up. We had websites to get the facts out there, and we started to really, once we got the facts out there, the public started to turn and realize that we are number one in the nation for bus maintenance. We had the highest miles between breakdowns in the entire country. So that was one of the things that we were able to tout. We were able to say, we are number one in the nation, and you don't have a bus maintenance problem. You just want it to cost less, and we can help you. And we offered a restructuring package that I wouldn't define it as a concession package, although there was some concessions, meaning pay raises moving into the future. We took a 0 in 2017, and then we moving forward, we've got like a couple of pay raises, 1.5%, 1.5, and then a 2.5%. It's a 4-year contract. But the big, go ahead.
Go ahead. What's the biggest?
The biggest part of it is the job protection. So we agreed to some restructuring, which was making new classifications for new mechanics coming on. We have a Tech C, Tech B, and Tech A now. So Tech Cs would be doing PMs and so on like that. And the general maintenance techs would be Tech Bs, and the master techs would be Tech As. But it would protect all the buses and garages that are currently public. They will remain public for now and forever. So we outlined the 10 garages total. That their replacements, even if they tear them down and build new replacements, that they'll remain public. The 955 buses that we currently service will remain public. Their replacements for now into the future.
So, Mike, what message do you have to other union members that are about to enter tough negotiations?
You've got to stick together. Obviously, solidarity was what won this. So you've got to stick together. You've got to put out a game plan, get your message out, and we made some noise. So if you've got a situation with a company that's really digging their heels in, and God forbid you had to do picket lines or a strike, you make some noise, get your message out, and get your message out in the correct way.
Okay, thank you so much, Mike, Assistant Directing Business Rep in the IAM's Eastern Territory. So thank you very much. And
thank you.
Mike is getting, and the local and the territory are getting a lot of positive feedback on the comments on Facebook. And if you want to comment, don't forget that you can do that on Facebook. And if you're on Twitter, just hit the reply button. And Mike will see your comments. Anyone who checks our feed at the Machinist Union on Twitter will see it as well. So we have a lot of people who have joined us: David Sneed, Crystal Ann, Giles Shepard, Brian Collis, Craig Hughes. Craig Hughes is saying, well done, brother. So that's awesome. Dave Lehigh. So keep the comments coming. Ramon Garcia, we really do appreciate your support. Those of you that are able to watch it live, and then during the replay, you can make comments there as well. And there you can join our conversation on Facebook. Just make a comment, or on Twitter, just hit that reply button. We're also on YouTube as well. Well, the IAM and NFFE have more than 10,000 members who work for the federal government when it shut down last month. That had an effect on working families. And to put a face on the issue, we have members of the National Federation of Federal Employees, or NFFE-IAM, joining us from the Wimpesinger Education and Technology Center in Southern Maryland. So we have 2 members that are down there, and I think the first one that is joining us is Chris Green. Chris, are you there? Hold on, we're trying to get there. I can see Chris. Chris, tell us a little bit about what your job is. What do you do, and where do you work?
I'm at Red River Army Depot in Texarkana, Texas. Local to 2189. One of the VPs, of course, and basically just that's basically what I do, and I'm a mechanic.
Now, Chris, what are you doing this week at the Wimpesinger Center? What class are you in?
We're in the basic federal training class, just trying to grow our local stronger, and where we can all come together and fight all these things coming at us.
Now, last month there was a three-day shutdown in January. We're understanding that the Senate has an agreement now today, so it's looking better, and hopefully it'll go, to the House. But how was your life affected by the shutdown last month?
Well, necessarily, it's going to be our community. I focus more on the community than myself, but the way our depot is, there's a lot of communities around that surrounding area. We're a 4-state area, and it just not myself, but everybody around us. It affects, of course, the economy and everything.
Okay, what do you think of the fact that the Senate has actually come to an agreement?
It's great. I mean, I hope they keep doing what they need to do.
Oh, great. Well, Chris, thank you so much for joining us. Is there anything else that you'd like to say before we switch over to Kayla?
No, ma'am. Thanks for having me on, though.
Okay, thank you so much. And we just want to remind everybody that you can make comments on Facebook and Twitter. Let us know what you think about the prospect of a government shutdown. That's one of the questions that I'm going to ask Kayla, is just every time she hears those words, what she thinks. But go ahead and give us some comments on Facebook. We can see all of them. And even if we don't mention your name on the show while we're doing it, after the show we'll go back and we can have discussions with each other. You can have discussions with each other about any topic that we discuss here on the show. So we appreciate all of you making those comments. So now we are joined by Kayla. Kayla, thank you for joining us.
Hi, thank you for having me.
Now tell us a little bit about where you work, what you do for your federal job.
Yes, I work for the Department of Veteran Affairs. I've been a federal employee for over 10 years. I'm an RN. I work very closely with the veteran. Right now, I am currently the vice president of my local 1956.
Vice president, we like to see women rising. Chris is great too, but we love to see women rising as the vice president of your local. So congratulations.
Thank you.
So how was your life affected by the shutdown last month?
Actually, our facility we had a budget already set aside for that. It's done yearly, but we wasn't directly affected. But in our area of the country, we also have an Air Force base, and of course we have an Air Force base, and of course the VA, and that's the center of our community. We have a lot of course, we have a lot of families that was basically constantly held hostage by a fear of what's going to happen.
You would think every time you hear those words that there's a prospect of a government shutdown.
Of course, worry about security, like most Americans, federal employees, we depend on our paycheck, and that security, that our family, we depend on that security, and our family depends on that security also. So that uncertainty, facing that constantly, that uncertainty is something that no employee should have to worry about when they're going to work or when they're coming home.
Kayla, what message do you have for lawmakers in terms of working together, making sure that they're working together?
My message is that not only federal employees, but the American people are dependent on you guys to work together. It doesn't matter who we voted for. Bottom line is we're looking to you for guidance, and we're looking to you for security. And lately, with this constant back and forth, we're uncertain, and we don't want to live with that uncertainty anymore. We need that security for our families and for ourselves. So we're asking that they get together and work together for us, the American people. Just don't think of us as federal employees. We're actually American people. We're citizens. And like I said, it doesn't matter what political party it's for. You're our leaders, and we're looking to you for that guidance.
Kayla, right before we go, a lot of people, when they think of the government, they think of, the president, they think of Congress, they think of the leaders, that you're talking about, and I just asked you about. But we have to remember that there are thousands and thousands of federal employees just like you that are helping to keep the government running. What do you want people to remember about the federal employees who help to run the government?
I want them to remember that even though there's a shutdown, we still have federal employees that's going to work. We know the mission, and we're going to continue to work, and we're going to continue to do what we need to do. And we just ask that everyone knows that. We're dedicated. Federal employees are dedicated. They're dedicated to their jobs and they're dedicated to this country.
Well, thank you so much, Kayla, for joining us, Kayla and Chris. We appreciate you being here, and we hope to continue the conversation online. So thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Great. And Christian Castile saying, great job. He said 1956, 2189, keep pushing. Crystal Ann is saying good info. And we have a shout out from Tony Klebs, Local Lodge 1947, in Fond du Lac, Wisconsin. I hope I said that right, Fond du Lac. So keep the comments coming. Join our conversation on Facebook and on Twitter. Well, February is Black History Month, and we want to highlight people who made a difference in the lives of union members and all workers, historically and now. So did you know that IAM members restored the bus that became famous after Rosa Parks refused to give up her seat in 1955? Now, we have a picture of the bus at the beginning of the restoration. There it is, when IAM members Chad Sample and Bruce Danks from local PM 2848 worked on it. We have another photo here from when the restoration was midway. Now, Parks was arrested for breaking the Jim Crow law, and I think there's the finished bus after it was restored. Now, Parks was arrested for breaking the law, the Jim Crow law, about blacks having to sit in the back of the bus during segregation. Now, most people hear the reports about Parks being a seamstress. Sometimes they say she's a quiet seamstress or a humble seamstress, but she was also the NAACP's lead investigator of a case involving 6 white men kidnapping and raping a black woman. Parks was an activist, not just a seamstress, and although she became one of the famous faces of the civil rights movement, she was one of many black women fighting for justice, dignity, and respect. Park was born on February 4th, 1913, 105 years ago. Well, joining me now is the president and CEO of the National Coalition on Black Civic Participation and the convener of the Black Women's Roundtable, Melanie Campbell. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you. Thank you. So honored to be here.
Thank you. So who were some of you?
Glad to be in the house.
Yes, we got Melanie Campbell in the house. Tell me a little bit about who are some of your historical inspirations.
Well, I'm here in the House of Labor, right? Mm-hmm. So I'm going to talk about the women who inspire me today, because I think they're history makers. Mm-hmm. Cleola Brown, president of A. Philip Randolph Institute. Mm-hmm. Diane Babineau, who just recently retired as one of your vice presidents here at the Machinists Union. I come out of the South, Florida, believe it or not, is the South. Mm-hmm. So I come out of Harry and Harriet T. Moore country. Yeah. So my mother, was a teacher, very much active in the union in Florida. So my mother, who just recently passed a couple of years ago, she was my shero. But then there are people that I've gotten to know here in my tenure here in Washington at the National Coalition. I think about Bill Lucy, mm-hmm. right? Who we're 50 years out, right, from Dr. King's assassination. That's right. And knowing how we're just commemorating the fact that the 2 garbage workers were killed, mm-hmm. And how it spurred the I Am a Man campaign, and how Dr. King lost his life fighting for the least of these when it comes to wages, not least of these as a person, but in wages. And so I think about him. I think about one of my sheroes and mentors, Dr. Dorothy Irene Height, who mentored me in understanding the role that I play as a woman, the role I play as an African-American woman, and how important it is for us to be unified. And we're one movement, right? Labor is civil rights. Civil rights is labor. Right. And so we were one family. So
civil rights, human rights, mm-hmm. labor rights.
Right.
All
tied into one. It's one. And it's about being able to understand that whatever happens to you happens to me. Right, and when labor is being attacked, I'm being attacked. And when civil rights being, and I think that's in this climate that we're in, this very toxic political climate. I think it's very important that we take Black History Month to remind ourselves. So I thank you again for inviting me to join you today.
No problem. That's what solidarity is all about,
exactly.
Sticking together.
Exactly.
Well, tell us a little bit about what the National Coalition is and what its mission is.
Well, we're a 42-year-old organization. We focus on civil rights, voting rights. We have a big effort around women's empowerment through the Black Women's Roundtable. So we work on public policy issues. We work to train the next generation of leaders through our Black Youth Vote program. The Machinists Union has been a part of that long before I came on board here. I've been here about half of those 42 years, believe it or not, and has always been a member. So Hassan Solomon is a member of the board. Diane was, and those before of them. And so, so some of our big issues we focus on: economic justice issues, health care, constantly fighting, protect health care, education, quality public education. We believe in quality public education for all of our children, but also global empowerment. So those are kind of like our issues, and within that we focus. We do a lot of. We also release a lot of reports now to talk about, and we'll be coming up to release our 5th report, annual report on the state of Black women in the U.S. And we always have a focus in there around what's happening, because we know the labor movement really is where Black people are able to become middle class. And so we're going to have a section, and I'll make sure I get that to you, during Women's History Month, right? It's coming up next month, about where we stand as Black women in this country around issues, those same issues that I just mentioned.
Now, one of the reports that I first read was you had a report about voting and voting rights and the power of the sister vote. Tell us a little bit about that.
Well, when it comes to progressives, Democrats, and it's just factual, because I'm nonpartisan, but just facts, right? It's fact. Black women drive the progressive vote. We drive the Democratic vote. In 2000, President Obama wouldn't have been elected twice had it not been for the power of Black women's vote and young people, numbers, but record historic numbers, right? And just 2017, if you go look what happened in Alabama, Roy Moore was stayed in Alabama because of the power of Black women, not just the vote, but Black women leading a lot of the efforts that were done in Alabama. And then if you look at Virginia, right? Terry McAuliffe, just governor, would tell you he won because of what happened with Black women, and this happened again, and in New Jersey, right? And so I say there's a secret sauce. When people say, "Well, the Black vote turned out," the secret sauce is Black women, because we don't just turn out, right? We bring everybody with us. We bring the community with us, and we have that role that we play, and we're trying to leverage that even stronger in these times as we go into this 2018 election that is very, very vital to everyone's future, that believes in inclusion in this country.
What is your message to young people, especially young people of color, when it comes to making their voices heard?
Well, first of all, millennials, right, are the largest, is the largest voting bloc out there. So you have power with that, right? Use it. Don't sit out on an election. Know that you have the power. You know how to utilize social media. Utilize it to make sure that you get your peers to turn out and vote, but not just turn out and vote. Run for office, right? Run for office. We need to change the dysfunction in Washington D.C. I heard in your earlier segment talking about government shutdown, right? And the fact that we have a president who thinks that's a good political tool to use when you talk about people's lives. Because the last I checked, a government worker was an American just like you and I. Right? Whether
like
you're a public sector worker or a private sector worker or someone who's not working or somebody retired, we're all Americans in this country. Whether you're a DACA recipient, whether you are an undocumented worker, we're all Americans in this country. And we have to, and young people have the power to change this country back to a hope and change agenda as opposed to one of exclusion.
And you have a national summit coming up.
Yeah.
So we have the dates and everything that we can put up on the screen.
Okay.
But tell us a little bit about the national summit, which I think is next month, correct?
Yes, March 14th through the 17th.
In Arlington, Virginia, right?
And in D.C. We'll be on Capitol Hill. It's our 7th year. Black Women's Roundtable Women of Power Summit, and it's for Black women and girls, because we also have a mentoring component. And we have folks coming in for at least 10 states on average. And we're going on Capitol Hill. We're going on Capitol Hill for a day, and we meet more. Black people mostly vote Democrat, but we mostly meet with Republicans because we want to engage them on issues that are important to us. And so we know we'll be fighting about the budget, because the budget's being used as a tool in a way that we hadn't seen in recent times. And so, so I'm always cautiously optimistic something else can change up there. But right now it seems that the budget is being used. We know that tax cut for the rich that was done before we left for Christmas, right, has to be paid for. And we are trying to be vigilant to make sure that it doesn't get paid for on the backs of working families And that's a big concern for us, that we protect Social Security, Medicare, and Medicaid, and other domestic policy issues.
So there we have the dates of it, March 14th to the 17th in Washington, D.C. and Arlington, Virginia. And if anybody wants more information, we have the website up there, www.ncbcp.org. So we are so excited, and we'll have to check back with you after the summit
definitely.
to see how it goes. Is there anything else you'd like to mention?
And we're going to release the report, and so we'll make sure we have that. So, and just, hey, tell everybody, come on and join us.
And you can register now. Right?
Register right now. And it's very, very, it's not expensive. You know? We want you to come. We want people to come and make sure we have our voices heard. And we strategize over the course of a couple of days. And we do self-care, because we are organizers and leaders, and we say self-care needs to be a core component of being a good organizer. So we have a segment where we focus on self-care. So excited about that.
We always forget. We're trying to go hard. We need to take care of ourselves as well. Well, thank you so much, Melanie, for being here, and we're letting everyone know that you can join the conversation, and anything that you would like to say about what we've talked about, just go ahead and join the conversation online.
Thank you.
Thank you. And we have and you can stay right here for a minute.
Okay.
So we have Deanna Womack is joining us from Marietta, Georgia. She's retired. Arnett Powell, good to celebrate Black History Month. It recognizes important events in American history. We have Kelvin Godwin saying hello from District W2 in Hot Springs, Arizona. Actually, that's Arkansas. Ooh, Tanya, AR is Arkansas. Any kids watching? I made a mistake, okay? So who else do we have here? Fabian Lando, great advice. We have very intelligent young machinists. We should be activating nationwide underused resource. So we appreciate everybody making the comments. Thank you, Melanie.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
We'll keep in touch, okay?
Appreciate it.
And for more information, ncbcp.org. Well, we have Valentine's Day coming up next week, and you can support workers by buying union-made candy and gifts. Build by USA has cards that you can actually print out from home for Valentine's Day. We have an example of one, and they're really cute. They're Valentine's cards. You go to the website for Build by USA, and then you'll see the different versions of the cards there. And then you could print them out at home and then give them to anybody that you want. I remember doing that. Well, I don't know if I gave them cards. We gave candy in school, you know, be my Valentine. So you could have those cards. And we'll put the information in the comments as well for Build by USA's website so that you can go in and print out your card. We've had Sandra Engel on the show in the past where we had, I guess, the holidays, you could print out little gift tags. So they're kind of doing the same sort of thing with the Valentine's Day cards. So we're going to look at our calendar now. So the Minnesota State Council of Machinists is meeting February 16th to the 18th in Minnesota. The Kentucky State Council of Machinists is meeting February 22nd to the 24th in Frankfort, Kentucky. So keep that in mind. We'll always try to let you know what's coming up on the calendar. We'll try to also let you know about what courses that you can sign up at the Wimpesinger Center. Now you can continue the conversation we've had today with us and each other in the comments section on Facebook and by hitting reply on Twitter. And join us next week when we'll continue our discussion about Black history and the labor movement and keep you up to date with everything IAM. So if you like this video, please share it. Bye-bye.